Let's get the obvious out of the way. Most of us buy watches because we like the way that they look. Sure, a lot of us will appreciate the history, the mechanics, the craftsmanship, but very few people will buy a watch they don't like the look and design of. And of course, within the look, color plays a major role. It's the difference between having an all-rounder, a statement piece, or something that's so under the radar that only you know how special it is on your wrist. But today we're going to ask the question then, how much is color worth? Because we have two Oyster Perpetuals here, both the same generation, both 41 millimeters, 11.7 millimeters thick in stainless steel with the same Rolex caliber 3230 on the inside. But this one costs 7,000 to 8,000 euros. Meanwhile, this one, with the Tiffany blue color dial, goes for over 20,000 euros. So why? Well, we're going to take a look at just that today. To do that, we need to cast ourselves back to the 1950s. Back in the 50s, way up until the early 90s, Rolex used to sell its watches through Tiffany & Co. And those watches, after leaving the Rolex factory, Tiffany would then open them up and put their stamp on the dials. Now these dials go for huge money on the auction scene and amongst vintage collectors, so they're very, very highly appreciated. However, during the 90s, when Rolex started really pushing for more vertical integration, taking more and more things in-house, they stopped this partnership because they didn't want other dealers taking apart their watches and putting their stamps on them. So there we lost the Tiffany dial in its classical sense. However, in 2020, when they introduced the updated Oyster Perpetual line, they brought back a bevy of colors. Now this also was a little bit of a callback to the Stella dials of the 1970s, but one color in particular stood out, and that was the Tiffany blue dial. While it wasn't officially ever named that, the colors were there and the connotation was there. And it was a masterstroke by Rolex because they didn't need to pay any licensing fees for this, they didn't need to establish a partnership, they just needed to call back on a little element of their history and use that as a way to leverage and create a lot of buzz. And it created so much buzz that it actually started the next color trend. If we think of the late 2010s as blue being the main color of choice, then followed by green, also courtesy of the Hulk, the Tiffany Blue Oyster Perpetual definitely set the trend for what we're seeing now with this nice sort of light blue or ice blue in some cases, which you could even attribute to the Platinum Daytona, but this particular shade really set something off. Such to the point that even Patek Philippe had to pay attention and introduced a Nautilus that was an official collaboration with Tiffany. The other reason though is that this actually had a very short production run. So whereas most hype watches, especially from Rolex, are still regular production, they produce them for years and years on end, this was only around for 2 years. They discontinued it in 2022, so that means there actually aren't that many of these compared to, for example, a regular black dial. But that still doesn't really answer the question though. How much is a dial worth? Is this really worth nearly 3 times that of a standard production dial color? If you want the dial color, why don't you just get a watch that has it? One of these is Aerowatch. Now on paper, this watch has no reason to cost a tenth of the price of a Tiffany Dial Oyster Perpetual 41. This is also 41 millimeters. It actually has a little bit more water resistant at 120 meters. It's only 10.7 millimeters thick, so it's a little bit thinner. And it does actually sport a nice distinctive design, clearly inspired by the more integrated bracelet steel sports watch trend, but it's still very versatile. It's easy to wear on the wrist, it has nice presence, and it features that nice vibrant shade of light blue that we find on the Tiffany Oyster Perpetual. It even has a little bit of texture to it. But despite that, the market would still prefer to opt for paying 10 times more for the Oyster Perpetual with the same color. And that really comes down to personal preference as a collector. What are you trying to achieve when you're buying a watch of this color? Do you want something that is just a statement piece or just to have a little bit of fun? Or do you want to make sure that as a collector you're not compromising on your general collecting principles because you want a more fun color? You want that genuine history and connection to Tiffany, not just something that has the same color. It's something that all collectors have to ask themselves and that everyone has their own personal preference for. So let us know in the comments below, what's your preference? Would you opt for paying more to get something like a Rolex Oyster Perpetual Tiffany dial? Or would you get something like an Aerowatch to just have that fun, have that element in your collection? Or would you forego both of them because you prefer the history of a genuine vintage Tiffany dial watch? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Of course, if you like this video, make sure you like it and share it. If you're interested in any of the watches featured today or on our website, make sure you check out our links in the description below to see our huge range of new and pre-owned watches. Of course, if you want to see more watch content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you know when the next video comes out. And you can even check out our Rolex playlist if you want to see more cool videos about Rolexes. But thanks for joining us on this quick exploration of the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Tiffany blue dial, and we'll catch you on the next video.